What's going on, vinyl community? Welcome to another video with the Record Spinner. In today's video, I'm going to be doing a vinyl haul showcasing all of the records that I acquired within the month of October this year in 2023. And let me tell you, I have to say, this was one of the best months I've had in a long time for vinyl finds, if not definitely within this year. We have anniversary and unofficial Kiss pressings, some Pink Floyd and Pink Floyd related releases, some reissues that were done as part of Rhino's Rocktober event, long-awaited reissues of AFI, vinyl debut pressings from Black Sabbath, some soundtracks, and much, much more. There is a lot of ground to be covered in this haul, so enough of the chit-chat. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the latest finds. Alright guys, we're going to be kicking this haul off with the hottest band in the world. An album in theirs just recently celebrated a 25th anniversary. And of course, Kiss Online always drops a little anniversary drop for any album that celebrates one, with various pieces of merchandise as well as vinyl goodies. And of course, I could not say no. So the album in question is, of course, 1998's Psycho Circus, and they went ahead and did this colored vinyl pressing, which is limited to 2,500 copies, which did sell out. And then there was the picture disc version, which was only sold as a bundle with a long sleeve tee. And that sold out in like less than a half hour, which is absolutely insane. But I have been on a big kick with these anniversary pressings. I'm kind of late to the game. I missed out on some of the very early ones that they did, but I'm glad that I kind of jumped on when I did because I got my hands on a good amount of them, and they do appreciate big time in value. Now, obviously, with vinyl pressings of Psycho Circus, the original 2014 pressing, which was the first time that it was pressed on vinyl, has the lenticular cover, which I do have in my collection. This version just kind of has the standard sort of cover, which they did a pressing of after the lenticular version went out of print. But what makes this version unique is the fact that we have a little bit of a spot varnish finish with the band logo as well as the album title. So it's like a gloss on top of matte type finish. Here is the back, pretty much identical to the 2014 pressing, just with some new copyright dates. And then here's this side. And then as for the vinyl itself, it comes on a gorgeous piece of metallic silver vinyl. Has a nice sort of rippled effect there, depending on like the angle that you look at it. It looks smoky in one point of view, and then it has that sort of nice rippled layer look. But it looks absolutely awesome, and it sounds fantastic too, I do have to say. So it was cool to celebrate this album's 25th birthday with this special anniversary pressing. Okay, so now we are going to tackle some Pink Floyd and Pink Floyd related releases. We'll do the solo stuff first. This first solo album I'm going to show you guys is one that recently got the Steven Wilson remix treatment. It's an album that I'm glad to see get re-released because I think more people can appreciate it now than perhaps when people first heard it when it came out back in 1978. And the album that I am talking about is Richard Wright's Wet Dream, and this album is such a solid listen. There's moments, of course, that sound very Floyd-esque, but I feel like that is a given because this album just goes to prove how crucial and integral Richard Wright's influence was in the confinements of Pink Floyd's sound. And you really do sense that his presence is much more missed, you know, in that period around Animals going into the wall, then into the final cut. He basically makes up for that, you know, on this album between the instrumental songs, as well as some of the tunes that, you know, he actually sings lead on, which does kind of hark back to when he used to sing lead on Pink Floyd songs around like late 60s, early 70s on albums like Atom Heart Mother, as well as Obscured by Clouds and, you know, other albums of that sorts. But it's an absolutely great listen, and if you have not gotten yourself acquainted with this album, you definitely should do yourself a favor and check this out. Now, this new remix has a sort of modern rendering of the album artwork with the man in the red swimming trunks along with the boat. Kind of matches with Richard's love for sailing around the Greek islands. And there's the gatefold jacket. Now, there is an insert which does reference the original Hypnosis design. So this is the cover that I'm sure most people are going to be recognized with. There's Richard right there. This looks cool. And of course, to match the nautical nature of the artwork, this does come pressed on a beautiful piece of marbled blue vinyl. And the remix is absolutely solid in comparison to the original mix. You know, Steven Wilson can honestly never do wrong. So, very glad to see this album get re-examined in recent years. And talking about albums being re-examined, obviously this year, 2023, is 50 years of Dark Side of the Moon. Pink Floyd rolled out that giant box set, and Roger Waters has the pointed stick to try to kind of give Dark Side of the Moon a bit of a modern context, which is fine because the themes that the album delves into are very relevant and universal to be adapted. But Roger decides to kind of have his own new take on it by doing Dark Side of the Moon Redux. So this is his much hyped re-recording of the Dark Side album. I'm honestly kind of scared to listen to this because, to be honest with you, the couple of singles that have dropped prior to this album's release, I was not wowed. Honestly, it's Roger Waters doing what Roger Waters does now. You know, he sings in that Leonard Cohen meets Bob Dylan gravelly kind of voice with very sort of minimalist type of instrumentation, just kind of stripping away a lot of the Floydian aspects that made Dark Side of the Moon pop out musically. You know, it's very much Roger's baby. And sure, he was the main lyrical writer, but I think you guys get the point. But it's a Pink Floyd related release, and I'm inclined to check it out for myself just because I feel like that's my duty as a Floyd fan. But here's the artwork. There's a dog that's referenced all throughout, and we have all the lyrics right here. And there's also some liner notes as well on these glossy printed inners. And this one also comes pressed on blue vinyl, indie exclusive to indie retailers. So I don't know. Maybe it'll be an interesting take on the album's concept with Roger's re-recording, but we'll see. But now let's get into the Pink Floyd stuff. So I've showed some solo albums. Now here is a cool sort of live, I don't know, I guess you could say a little mini series of sorts. This is a particular recording that has been bootlegged for many, many years and now has kind of slipped through these cracks of weird, dodgy label, semi-official, but still unofficial type loopholes. You see a lot of these releases pop up, especially with like some of the BBC recordings. And this is Pink Floyd, Italy Live 1971, Volumes 1 and 2. So this consists of a show from Brescia, Italy in June of 1971. So this is while the band was working on Metal. And it's very much traditional Floyd live territory from mid-71. Like, you get Adam Hart Mother, Careful with That Oxygen, Fat Old Son, Embryo, Set the Controls, Heart of the Sun, Cymbeline, Saucer Full of Secrets, and The Return of the Son of Nothing. So it is indeed an early version of Echoes with alternate lyrics, and it sounds very interesting to hear this alternate kind of take on what is perhaps one of the staples of the Floyd canon. And sound quality wise, it sounds like a superb audience recording. It's definitely not soundboard, but a superb audience recording. So very happy to get my hands on a rather cool piece of Floyd live on vinyl from 71. And I gotta say, like I mentioned with these dodgy little bootleg labels, you know, the artwork is totally has nothing to do with Pink Floyd's imagery and, you know, themes and whatnot. You know, it's just whatever they put together. It's interesting choice. But Volume 1 comes pressed on sort of milky, clearish colored vinyl. And then Volume 2, altogether 4 LPs, comes pressed on gray vinyl, as you can see there. So it's kind of been a hot minute since I've delved into some Floyd bootleg-esque type releases. I was really big on it, you know, in years past. Now I've kind of sort of been out of touch with it, but glad to get these cool Floyd live acquisitions in my collection. All right, guys, it is that time of the year. No, it is not October, it's Rocktober. So every year in the month of October, Rhino Records does their Rocktober reissue series where they pick various titles out of their catalog, press them up on colored vinyl in limited quantities, and they generally sound great and they're fairly affordable and easy to obtain. Upon coming out, some titles have dried up and have skyrocketed in value over the years, but it's always like one of my favorite annual reissue series, along with like Start Your Ear Off Right and this and that. And I think it's safe to say that for the past 5 or 6 plus years, I have been picking up titles consecutively every year from this series. And this year was a hot and heavy one. And what's cool is all the stuff that I was seeking out all came out in the beginning of the month, since they kind of trickle these things out throughout every week of the month. And got myself a nice little selection here. Starting off with probably my favorite and most anticipated release, and that is Stone Temple Pilots' Thank You. This is the first time that it's ever been pressed on vinyl, and I have been wanting a vinyl pressing of this fantastic Stone Temple Pilots compilation. Basically has all the hits, along with one new track. There's an acoustic version of Plush, but it has everything that you could ask for. You know, Vaseline, Down, Wicked Garden, Creep, Lady Picture Show, Interstate Love Song, Tripping on a Hole in a Paper Heart, all fantastic stuff. Hell, I was even hoping that there would be a unofficial pressing of this made up, but if you wait long enough, you'll persevere. So finally got it, and it's pressed up on 3 sides of vinyl. Nice gatefold jacket there, and I'll showcase the vinyl itself. Both LPs come pressed on this nice sort of blue vinyl, which matches the album artwork nicely. But since I said it's pressed up on 3 sides, there is a cool etching of a sunflower on the D side of the second LP. So very nice touch, and just like I said, a fantastic compilation. It's to the point, all killer, no filler. So very happy that this got a vinyl pressing. And then moving into some Southern rock territory, still in the compilation vein, we have The Best of ZZ Top, compilation that came out back in 1977. I've been needing to expand my ZZ Top collection, and I know Rhino has put out a bunch of their titles, both generally and as part of various reissue series. So when I saw this, I figured, you know what, let's get some of the early bangers on vinyl. And this comes pressed on rich blue vinyl, and as you can see there, they do not replicate the Warner Brothers label because it is now Warner Records. So pretty cool to have this as well. And then we go into some classic territory. This is an album that I've been wanting for years, and I remember Rhino did a colored vinyl pressing of this years ago, and then now they just did another one. It's an album that I've been needing to get and just kind of dive deeper into the solo works of Van Morrison, and this is Astral Weeks. I do enjoy the stuff that he did with them, but my buddy Patrick said that if there is one Van Morrison solo album to have, it's this one, as well as Moondance, of course. But I figured start off early and kind of work my way through. And this one comes pressed on like olive green vinyl, does replicate that green Warner Brothers label. And looking at the dead wax, basically they have been using the same metal parts throughout the years, to my knowledge at least. And this was mastered by Kevin Gray, so I'm sure this is going to sound absolutely tremendous. Moving on into some sort of proto-punk garage rock from the late 60s, early 70s, one of the godfathers of the Detroit rock scene. I shouldn't say garage rock, it's basically proto-punk essentially, but rounding off my MC5 collection, since I already have Kick Out the Jams, and they did press that up, but I already have a version of that. I got Back in the USA, as well as High Time. Now, Rocktober, I feel like, is also sort of intertwining with the Atlantic 75th anniversary line. Technically, it is part of Rocktober, but Atlantic has been doing a bunch of these clear vinyl pressings of various albums in the catalog, and that's what they did specifically for the Back in the USA album. They did this on crystal clear vinyl, or diamond colored vinyl, as they like to cleverly word it. It's very transparent, as you can see. It is literally clear. So that was cool. And then for High Time, of course, I'll just show off the gatefold. Everything's replicated. This one comes pressed on clear vinyl with yellow splatter, which is pretty solid. So happy to round off my MC5 collection, because I remember there was a box set that had the 3 albums, and I was going to part ways with my Kick Out the Jams and get that, but didn't quite happen. So got them all singularly. And then last but not least, this is a rather interesting compilation. One that I'm excited to dig into, but one that might be baffling to some of the diehards out there. I think it's interesting, but it's really an anomaly. And that is Yes Singles. So this is a compilation that brings together various single edits of Yes singles from 71 up until 83. So this covers the Yes album all the way up till 90125. I am not at all a expert when it comes to the Yes singles discography. It's a little all over the place for the most part, but it's going to be interesting because obviously there have been single edits of various epics such as Roundabout and You and I, Starship Trooper. But then you have like other single friendly material like Wondrous Stories, Don't Kill the Whale, but it's weird because it only covers up till 90125, so it doesn't really cover Big Generator and beyond. But I think for anyone that is kind of scared to dip into the epic waters of Yes, maybe this compilation will serve its purpose. But if you're a Yes fan like myself who needs to have almost everything, this is necessary. Interesting choice of artwork. Definitely not a Roger Dean inspired type of thing. We do have some band photos here. It's something different, but it's so unlike typical Yes product that we usually see. But the vinyl on this is really cool, I do have to say. This comes pressed on yellow vinyl with orange and black splatter, along with a nice custom label as well. So overall, really cool stuff. And in general, with what you just saw, this was a successful Rocktober from Rhino Records. All right, so I have been on a massive Deep Purple kick as of lately. Kind of been listening to them, a little bit of Rainbow, as well as everyone else that exists in that sort of vast family tree. And I felt the urge to pick up some Deep Purple vinyl. And one of them is an album that I did not have in my collection. And another one is one that I already have in my collection, but this one just being slightly different. So we'll talk about the more exciting one first. And that is their self-titled third album. This was the last album to feature the Mark I lineup of the group, which included Rod Evans on vocals, as well as Nick Simper on bass. Musically, this album is kind of all over the place, I feel. You kind of have some neoclassical stuff, some folky Donovan covers, and it's just sort of all over the place. However, a notable highlight is the track Bird Has Flown, which kind of hints at the hard rock sound that the band would explore pretty much soon after the Mark I lineup kind of folded, and then Ian Gillan and Roger Glover came in the band, and the rest is history. But overall, some pretty interesting artwork, nice glossy gatefold with a matte interior here in rich deep purple. Get it? And of course, this was released on a Tetragrammaton in the US, but this European reissue comes pressed on the Harvest label, home to many progressive and hard rock artists of the time. So it's cool that they added that touch there. And also it's nice to have a complete Deep Purple Mark I collection now, because I have this as well as Shades of Deep Purple and Book of Taliesin. So that's all complete. And now on with the album that I already have in my collection, and that is the Mark II lineup classic, Fireball. Of course, title tracks on here, No, 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 The Mule, No One Came, great stuff. What I have in my collection already is a European reissue, which is mastered at half speed and has the song Demon's Eye, which is how it was released in the UK. This version here is the Friday Music pressing, which replicates the American version of the record. And in place of Demon's Eye is the song Strange Kind of Woman, which was released as a single on both sides of the Atlantic, but they included it here on the Fireball album in the States as opposed to Demon's Eye on the UK version. Very, very minute difference, but I like purple in this album enough to own 2 copies, so that's why I went for that. And as you can see, we have a nice black and white gatefold jacket. Here's the back cover. And because Friday Music, when it comes to whenever they license stuff from labels, they kind of add their twist to the to whichever label that they use. So in this, they do replicate the sort of olive green Warner Brothers label, but instead of WB, you see an FM. So an interesting little minor thing to point out, but overall solid stuff. And just basically going to keep on riding that Deep Purple wave as I spin through these on the turntable. I gotta tell you, this month is hot and heavy for fresh releases. This album here celebrates its 20th anniversary, and it is one that I think a lot of people have been wanting on vinyl for the longest time since it first got its only vinyl pressing back when it came out back in 2003. I had an unofficial version just to have it, but I parted ways with it when this was announced, and that is the 20th anniversary reissue of AFI's Sing the Sorrow. Great emo punk rock band, and this was like kind of like their commercial breakthrough album. Girls Not Grey is on here, Leaving Song Part 2, Silver and Cold, Dancing Through Sunday. This is absolutely solid stuff. So very happy to see them do an official reissue of it, because it's been a long time coming, let's just say that, for as long as the unofficials have been hitting the market. Nice printed inner sleeves with lyrics as well as photos. This is exclusive to indie retailers, and it does come pressed on black and red pinwheel splatter vinyl, which looks absolutely awesome. And the black is also transparent too. You can't really see it in this angle. It looks more opaque, but it is transparent. So it looks really, really solid, and just very happy to see this awesome album get an official reissue. And then here is another reissue that kind of caught me by surprise. Ironically enough, there was an unofficial press that has been sort of making the circles as of recently, and I came close to snagging it, but I'm glad that I didn't, because I ultimately would have done the exact same thing, part ways with it to get the official. So it's good that I kind of persevered and waited a little bit. And that is Black Sabbath Reunion. So this was back when the original Sabbath lineup reunited in the late 90s in Birmingham, and they did a live album documenting that reunion, and that's exactly what this is. This is the first time that it's been pressed on vinyl officially, and what's cool about it is that it includes remixes of the 2 studio tracks that appeared on here as bonuses. So those tracks are Psycho Man and Selling My Soul. They appear on here, and then at the very end there's some unreleased remixes that appear as well. And this is also a fresh, up-to-date cover art, because the original cover had these little demonic children as the main cover with the bass drum head, but now that's kind of used as an icon, and you have like a backside shot of the band on stage, which is pretty cool. And just take a look at that set list too. It is absolutely tremendous. They pull out things such as Electric Funeral, Spiral Architect, Sabbath Bloody Sabbath, Lord of This World, and of course they do Children of the Grave, Paranoid, NIB, all that stuff. And this is an absolutely phenomenal looking triple gatefold jacket. Nice to see the Sabs there with Bill Ward, since he's shamefully missing from the band's website. Whole weird backstory there. And here are the printed inners full of liner notes talking about the show and the kind of backstory of the reunion itself. Some of these sleeves do have some really cool old photos of the band as well, as you can see here. Nice photo collages, which is very nice. And this is also another indie exclusive that comes pressed on sort of marbled purple colored vinyl. So it's an overall sort of purple hue with some black smoke. Looks absolutely tremendous. And very nice to see this official Sabbath live album also get a proper vinyl reissue. Or in this case, vinyl debut pressing. Alright, so if you saw one of my recent videos, I reunited with my best friend Chelsea, aka the Record Spinneret, and we did a video where she showcased more of her record collection and all the stuff that she had accumulated from the last time that she had appeared on the channel, which was a little over a year ago. And it's kind of part of this ongoing series where she kind of documents her journey into record collecting, which is now a facet that her and I can share since she got into collecting from me. And when we filmed the video, we also got together and did a little late birthday celebration for me, which was so appreciated. It was such a great time. And she gifted me some killer wax. And if you've seen her in previous videos on my channel, you probably all know that she is a die-hard Swiftie, and it's thanks to her that I kind of recognized the geniusness behind Taylor Swift's artistry. Now, don't unsubscribe because I said that, because I can identify good talent when I see it, And also, her marketing team are geniuses, because when you can put out 4 copies of the same album and someone buys it at one go, you're doing something right. But she does have talent, though. You know, decent songs. You know, look, it's not something that I would seek out, you know, for myself entirely, but it's tolerable. But usually it's thanks to Chelsea that she'll usually hook me up with whatever the latest Taylor Swift vinyl release is. And one of the many releases that has come out this year is Speak Now, Taylor's version. I'm sure most of you guys know that Taylor has been re-recording her catalog just so she can own the masters. Particularly the albums that came out on the Big Machine Records label. So these re-records are really cool because you get the main albums, and then you also get all of the vault tracks, which consist of like unreleased things, B-sides, and offcuts. So it basically gives you everything under one umbrella, which is pretty solid, all with up-to-date artwork renderings and such. So it's really, really cool. Nice gatefold jacket, packaged very beautifully. And this is the Target exclusive pressing, which comes pressed on marbled lilac colored vinyl, which looks absolutely stunning. Out of all of the colored variants that I saw of this album, the Target exclusive looked the most impressive. So Chelsea was very gracious enough to gift me this for my birthday. And I got to brush up on my early Swift. She's probably going to quiz me on this. So thank you very much. And then we took a little trip out to Mount Holly Records, and she gifted me with a couple of records that caught my eye there, which was awesome. And I saw this record in the stands, and I kind of just was curious about it just by name recognition alone, and I'll explain kind of why. But also, there's a cool kind of tie-in story as well. So she copped for me 2 albums by Nick Perry and the Underground Thieves. So this album is called Sun Via. This came out back in 2020. And then this one is called Terra Firma, which came out this year. Nick Perry is the older brother of Christina Perry, who is a notable sort of pop singer-songwriter, and Chelsea and I are big fans of her. We saw her at the TLA in Philly back in 2011, back when we were in middle school, and Nick was in a band as well, kind of before that, and then as of lately, he's been doing his own music stuff, and I remember I saw an ad somewhere that he was doing a listening party for this album at Mount Holly Records, and I meant to check it out just because like I recognized the name, and also Nick looks just like his sister, so I was like, oh my gosh, that's such a small world. Never got around to checking it out, but I found myself at the shop, I saw the albums there, and I thought that's a prime time to check it out. And just by the cover, I mean, 70s classic rock type stuff, just by looking at it alone, and also the couple of sound bites I've heard. So it's really solid. So I'm really excited to dig into Nick Perry's work. We'll take a look at that Sun Via. Has a cool printed inner sleeve here. There's Nick right there. Back cover as well. And then as for his newest album, this is actually a double LP. That's a sick flying V that he has on the gatefold there. And this comes pressed on a sort of marbled turquoise green colored vinyl, which looks absolutely beautiful. So really stoked to check these out. And then Chelsea also gifted me this really cool collectible Beatles piece. And that is an original UK stereo Magical Mystery Tour double EP. So in the UK, this is what came out for Magical Mystery Tour, which consists of 2 7-inch singles of all the songs from the film. And then obviously in the US, we got the Magical Mystery Tour album with the songs from the film on one side, and then all the singles and B-sides from 67 on the other. And this never made its way to the US, maybe only as an import really, but obviously we got the album. But to think that some bloke in 1967 or 68 roughly bought this is really cool. Now I have the movie box set, which has like a reissue version of it, but to have an original 67 UK double EP is absolutely solid. Looks absolutely great. The booklet is still intact inside, and I'll showcase at least one of the records. There you can see that black Parlophone label. It looks absolutely awesome. So thank you so much, Chelsea. It is so wholesome of you. Seriously. And then after we parted ways, I figured I would stop by Sky Valley, because that's what I always do. And of course, it's a good thing I went because I copped something cool. Got myself a copy of Kiss's MTV Unplugged. This is an unofficial version. Both the original 96 and reissue. The artwork is a little different. It kind of has like the square artwork in the middle with like a graphic in the background. Whereas what you see here is basically the original CD cover. Which is kind of interesting. It's interesting to own for just that alone. And it also doesn't have the track Got to Choose, which appeared on international CD versions as well as all vinyl pressings. But it does not appear on this unofficial version. So little nuances like that make me gotta snag this. And also the fact that it's on cool red colored vinyl, which is pretty cool. Also, there's a lot of dead wax. I can only imagine what this might possibly sound like, but it's the downside of having that Kiss collecting bug. You know, at some point, anything basically goes, and that's the case with the unofficial MTV Unplugged. All right, guys, now we're going to wrap this haul up with some upgrades of albums that I've already had in my collection, as well as some new additions as well. So the Bowie camp has just celebrated this album's 50th anniversary recently, and that is the Pinups album, released back in 1973. And this was done shortly after Bowie had put the Ziggy Stardust character to rest at the infamous show at London's Hammersmith Odeon. And this kind of serves as a sort of bookend to that sort of era. And it is a covers album of songs from the 1964-67 time frame. Songs by bands such as The Pretty Things, Yardbirds, Pink Floyd, The Who, as well as The Kinks, amongst many others. And it's a really fun listen. And I do have to say, you know, growing up when I was a kid listening to Bowie's catalog, this was one that I went back to often. And the cover versions that Bowie does on this, I guess at the time I was much more familiar with than their original counterpart. So this album has a special place in my heart. And because it is celebrating a 50th anniversary, it is given the half-speed master treatment. So Parlophone has been doing these half-speed Bowie cuts ever since Ziggy Stardust. So this is going back last year, and then they did Aladdin Sane earlier this year, and now they got this. So it seems like that's the new thing, aside from the various picture discs and other things that they do, they being the estate and Parlophone at hand. So cool to see. Comes off like an Obi strip here, and the original artwork is faithfully replicated. Now, the source for this half-speed cut is the 2015 digital remaster, which appears in the 5 years box set, as well as the standalone reissue of Pinups that has been readily available prior to this coming out. So I bet the differences are going to be rather minute. But because it's Bowie and he's one of those artists that I do kind of collect out of impulse, I had to get my hands on the 50th anniversary half-speed cut of Pinups. Now here is a MoFi title that just got repressed, and I am super stoked to have this in my collection. And it's an album that I have to say, as I listen to it more, I mean, I liked it upon first listen when I first heard it, but the more I listen to it now, the more it becomes ingrained and grows on me. And that is Weezer's Pinkerton. This was their second album, and in comparison to their debut album, which was the Blue Album, which is like the spit polish, you know, perfect kind of record, this is a bit more in a sort of darker, grittier, heavier direction. And it's always the big debate between Blue Album and Pinkerton as to what is the best Weezer record. Honestly, my heart lies with Blue, but I can see why people would merit this as being one of, if not their best record. But it's a solid, fun listen, and like I said, it's growing on me more with time. Of course, there's the classic MoFi band across the top. No indicator here as to if this is a analog to DSD type thing, or if it's purely all analog. Honestly, at this point, it doesn't matter. It's MoFi. It's going to sound good. Nice tip-on jacket, gatefold. Nice rice paper sleeve, of course, like all MoFi pressings. Hence why they call it the MoFi sleeve. And here is the nice custom center label. So absolutely great stuff here. And then moving onward, Atlantic Records is still doing their 75th anniversary series, where they're reissuing a bunch of albums on crystal clear, diamond colored vinyl. And this is an album that I'm actually quite shocked and happy to see, because in terms of colored pressings by this particular band in the official realm, not unofficially or in the bootleg circles, this is kind of a first, to my knowledge at least, of, recently manufactured vinyl. We're talking about the almighty Zeppelin, Led Zeppelin 4. And honestly, a prime contender to be a part of this series due to its stature, its legendary status, the fact that it has Black Dog, Rock and Roll, When the Levee Breaks, Stairway to Heaven, Misty Mountain Hop, Battle of Evermore, Going to California. I think I just named off all the tracks. I think I missed 4 sticks. It's literally perfect. And legendary and classic enough to be considered in this series. Now, I don't know if this is going to be the only Zeppelin record to be given this treatment, but it's kind of a big deal if you think about it to some extent. But this is pretty much the same thing as the standard reissue that came out back in 2014. I have the 2 LP deluxe version with all the outtakes, so I have a nice little special single LP version. And of course, as you see there's the holographic Swan Song label, which is cool, proves its authenticity. You got the Hermit there on the gatefold as always. Insert with the lyrics of Stairway to Heaven, track list and credits. And I also pasted the hype sticker on the polyline sleeve. And here is the crystal clear diamond colored vinyl, which I do have to say the formulation is so solid that it is truly one of the clearest pieces of clear vinyl that I have in my collection. Same with all of these Atlantic 75th pressings that I have so far. So really solid stuff. And just to kind of keep it in the Zeppelin vein, I've been keeping on top of the various sort of gray area official, unofficial releases type thing. It's just bootleg recordings that kind of seep into public domain and labels just put them out. I try to keep on top of that stuff, and it's just a great means of getting some cool, rare live recordings and not having to go through the dark avenues of the bootleg circles and knowing where to get them. So I picked up Live in Canada, 1970 to 1971. These recordings have existed in bootleg circles for a while. Some of them, I believe, are soundboard tapes, as well as a couple of decent-sounding audience recordings, to the best of my knowledge. From 1970, there's the show from Vancouver, I want to say. And then in 1971, there's Maple Leaf Gardens in Toronto. So it's a kind of a combination of those two, and honestly, a pretty solid set track list. You get things like Heartbreaker, Thank You, We're Gonna Groove, which is good fun. Whole Lot of Love, Celebration Day, That's the Way, What Is and What Should Never Be. So if you want some, Led Zeppelin 3 to 4 era live stuff, then this collection is worth checking out, despite the fact that this photo is from 1975. But these labels can't really get it all too perfect. At least the photos are appropriate right here. And this one as well comes pressed on a sort of milky clear colored vinyl. So definitely got some nice Zeppelin assortment to spin my way through. So there you guys go. That is my vinyl haul of all the records that I acquired within the month of October this year in 2023. If you enjoyed this video, please go ahead, give it a like, and subscribe to the channel. See you guys in the next video, and most importantly, keep the records spinning.